We spend our entire lives collecting. We collect achievements, we collect worries, and we collect noise, thinking that eventually we will find happiness. But what if the secret isn't adding more to your life, but taking something away? Before we climb this mountain together to find the answer, make sure to subscribe and turn on the bell. Join our community of seekers finding wisdom and calm in a chaotic world. Once, there was a man who felt the heavy burden of the world resting entirely on his shoulders. He was a successful merchant in his city, a man who had acquired everything society told him he needed to be happy, yet he felt a profound emptiness. His mind was a storm of endless thoughts, anxieties, and future plans that never allowed him a moment of true silence. He carried the weight of his reputation, his possessions, and his fears like a backpack filled with lead, dragging his feet through the mud of his own existence. He heard whispers of a wise old master who lived high atop the misty peaks, a place where the clouds touched the earth. It was said that this master held the ancient secrets to inner peace and could cure the restless soul of its constant suffering. The man, desperate for stress relief and clarity, decided to leave his busy life behind for a few days to make the arduous climb. He packed his bag with books on philosophy, maps, and tools, believing he needed to be well prepared for this serious spiritual undertaking. The journey up the mountain was not easy, reflecting the turmoil he felt inside his own heart. Every step was a battle against gravity, just as every day of his life was a battle against his own expectations. The wind howled through the trees, mimicking the noisy chatter of his mind that refused to be still for even a second. He was exhausted, sweating, and gasping for air, but his determination to find happiness drove him forward. As he climbed higher, the air became thinner, and the noise of the world below began to fade into a distant hum. The vibrant green of the forest turned into the gray and white of stone and mist, stripping away the distractions of the visual world. He was entering a space of mindfulness and nature, but he could not enjoy it because his mind was still running a marathon. He was physically present on the mountain, but mentally, he was still fighting battles in the city below. Finally, after hours of struggle, he reached the small, humble wooden hut at the summit. It was simple, unadorned, and sat quietly amidst the swirling clouds, a perfect picture of Zen simplicity. The man stood before the door, his legs trembling from the effort, and his mind racing with the questions he wanted to ask. He fixed his clothes, took a deep breath, and prepared to demand the answers that would finally fix his life. He knocked on the door, the sound echoing sharply in the vast silence of the peaks. He expected a grand reception or a mystical sign, but there was only the sound of gentle footsteps approaching. He was looking for a complex solution to his complex problems, fully convinced that wisdom was something he had to grab and hold on to. He did not know yet that he was approaching the edge of a cliff where he would have to learn to fly by letting go. The door opened slowly to reveal an elderly man with eyes as clear as a mountain stream and a smile that held no judgment. The master did not look like a powerful sorcerer or a strict teacher. He looked simply like a human being who was completely at peace with himself. He gestured for the traveler to come inside, offering a seat on a woven mat near a small, crackling fire. The warmth of the room was a sharp contrast to the cold mist outside, instantly inviting a sense of calmness and safety. The merchant sat down, but he could not sit still. His energy was frantic and nervous. He immediately began to pour out his story, speaking rapidly about his achievements, his failures, and his confusion. "Master," he said, "I have traveled far to find you, because I have studied every text and practiced every technique. I have tried meditation, I have read the scriptures, and I have accumulated great wealth, yet I am miserable. I feel like I am missing the final piece of the puzzle, he continued, his voice rising with desperation. I need you to teach me the ultimate secret. What is the one thing I need to add to my routine to finally achieve enlightenment? Do I need more discipline? Do I need to learn a new language of prayer? Tell me what I lack, and I will go out and get it immediately. The master listened in absolute silence, pouring hot water into a small clay teapot. He did not interrupt the man's flow of words, allowing the visitor to exhaust his frantic energy. The master understood that the man was suffering from the illusion that spiritual growth is an act of accumulation. The traveler believed peace was a trophy to be won, rather than a state of being to be uncovered. Please, the man begged, leaning forward, give me the knowledge I don't have. My mind is ready to absorb more. I am a hard worker, and I will do whatever it takes to add this wisdom to my collection. He looked at the master with hungry eyes, expecting a lecture, a book, or a strict set of rules to follow. He was trapped in the mindset of more effort, more information, more control. The master finally looked up, his expression soft, piercing, seeing right through the man's ego. He saw a cup that was already brimming with old, stale tea, leaving no room for anything fresh. You have traveled a long way, the master said gently, his voice like a soothing breeze. But before we speak of life lessons and secrets, let us have some tea. You must be thirsty from your climb. The master placed a small, delicate cup in front of the merchant and began to pour the steaming tea. The liquid was golden and fragrant, swirling into the cup with a soothing sound. The merchant watched the tea rise, waiting for the master to stop pouring so they could begin the real teaching. He held his breath, his eyes fixed on the rim of the cup, ready to drink. However, when the tea reached the brim, the master did not stop pouring. The tea began to spill over the sides of the cup, flowing onto the saucer. The merchant's eyes widened in surprise, but he remained silent, thinking perhaps it was a mistake or a test of his patience. He watched the hot liquid pool around the base of the cup, wondering why the master was being so careless. The master continued to pour calmly, and the tea overflowed from the saucer onto the wooden table. It dripped down the sides of the table and began to splash onto the floor and the merchant's robes. The merchant could no longer contain himself. His instinct for order and control kicked in. He jumped up, startling the silence of the room. "Stop! Stop!" the merchant shouted, pointing at the mess. "The cup is full. It cannot hold any more. Can't you see what you are doing? You are wasting the tea and making a mess everywhere." He looked at the master as if the old man had lost his mind. The chaos of the spilling tea mirrored the chaos in the man's own head. The master stopped pouring immediately and set the teapot down with a deliberate, soft clink. He looked deep into the merchant's eyes, holding the gaze until the man settled back down. "Exactly," the master said, his voice firm and resonant. "Like this cup, you are full of your own opinions, your own speculations, and your own certainties. How can I show you the way to peace unless you first empty your cup?" the master asked. "You came here asking for more techniques, more answers, more weight, but you don't need more. You need less." The realization hit the merchant like a lightning bolt. He looked at the overflowing cup and saw for the first time the reflection of his own cluttered soul. The lesson of the overflowing cup is one of the most powerful teachings in Eastern philosophy. We often approach life believing that the solution to our unhappiness is to add something new. We buy new things, we start new relationships, or we cram our minds with endless information from our phones. We treat our minds like storage units, packing them floor to ceiling until there is no room to breathe. But true wisdom is not a process of construction, it is a process of deconstruction. It is the art of minimalism applied to the soul. To find clarity, we must stop adding to the noise and start subtracting the unessential. We must pour out the old tea, the grudges we hold, the worries about the future, and the rigid beliefs about how life should be. When you are overwhelmed, your instinct is to run faster, but the answer is to stop. When you feel empty, your instinct is to consume, but the answer is to create space. The Master was teaching that you cannot hear your own intuition if your mind is screaming with the voices of others. You cannot feel the lightness of being if you are weighing yourself down with emotional baggage. Think about your own life right now and the sheer volume of input you process every day. We are drowning in information, but starving for wisdom. We are connected to everyone, but often feel disconnected from ourselves. The less that the Master speaks of is not about poverty, it is about clarity. It is about removing the layers of dust so the mirror can shine. This is the path of letting go. It is the courageous act of saying no to the things that do not serve your peace. It involves unlearning the habits that cause you stress and releasing the need to control every outcome. Peace is not something you go out and find. It is revealed when you remove the disturbance. The merchant finally understood that he didn't need a new strategy, he needed to surrender. He realized that his intellect was a tool, but it had become his master. By emptying his cup, he wasn't losing anything of value, he was making space for the present moment to enter. He was making room for life itself. The merchant stayed on the mountain for 3 days, not to learn new things, but to unlearn the old ones. He spent hours sitting in silence, watching the clouds dissolve, practicing the art of doing nothing. With every hour that passed, he felt lighter, as if the heavy stones in his backpack were turning into feathers. He stopped trying to solve the puzzle of his life and simply allowed himself to be a piece of it. When it was time to leave, he bowed to the Master, not with the frantic energy of a beggar, but with the dignity of a king. He walked down the mountain path, and although the road was the same, the journey was completely different. He noticed the vibrant color of the moss, the song of the hidden birds, and the coolness of the air. He was empty, and because he was empty, he was open to everything. He returned to the city, but the city's noise could no longer disturb his inner silence. He carried the lesson of the empty cup in his heart, reminding himself daily to pour out his worries before they overflowed. He worked, he loved, and he lived, but he did so with a sense of detachment and grace. He had learned that the richest man is not the one who has the most, but the one who needs the least. Now I invite you to close your eyes for a moment and visualize your own cup. Is it full to the brim? Is it overflowing with stress, expectations, and the endless chatter of the world? Imagine yourself tipping that cup over and watching all that dark, heavy liquid pour out, leaving the porcelain clean and white. Feel the space that opens up inside your chest when you let go of the need to know everything. Feel the relief of realizing that you are enough, just as you are, without adding a single thing. You need less. Less worry, less hurry, less judgment, less noise. As you go about your day, remember the master and the tea. Whenever you feel the pressure rising, ask yourself, what can I empty from my cup right now? You might find that in the space you create, the happiness you were chasing has been waiting for you all along. Thank you for climbing the mountain with us today. If this story helped you find a moment of calm, please like this video. It helps us share this message of peace with others who need it. And don't forget to subscribe for more stories that heal the soul. Question for you. What is one thing, a worry, a habit, or a fear that you are willing to pour out of your cup today? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single one. Stay light, stay empty, and see you in the next video.